my real passion, and still is music. And I started playing the trombone when I was 12 years old. In fact, that's how I met my wife, was in a symphony. So she plays bassoon and piano.
Now, I'm tempted to try this. The next time I have someone who is a close talker, they're so close, reach out, just give them a hug. and see if they immediately back up after. Welcome to the Garage Grit podcast. And as you know, I'm your host, Brad Herlock of AA Shop Marketing, a digital marketing company for auto repair shops. And if you're trying to grow, if you're trying to learn, if you're trying to hear other experiences from other shop owners, then you are in the right spot. But if you're just happy with a couple of green dollars in your back pocket and you must be doing fine and you don't need to try to develop your shop, then maybe this podcast isn't the right podcast episode or podcast series for you. And that's okay. But if you are trying to grow, if you are trying to get one more customer, continue to develop your shop, develop your processes, then thanks for being here with us. And again, welcome to this Garage Grit podcast. Today's Origin and Impact series is with Kelly Michael of Kelly's Automotive Repair and Service in Florida. And Kelly, thank you for joining the podcast.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Good. Glad to hear that. I chatted with Kelly before this recording and earlier this week, and we talked about the coaching experience and the evolution of different programs and whatnot. And so I don't know, but maybe we just start right there. Is tell me about how you feel, what program you're using, what coaching program you're using, and your thoughts on it.
Okay, so we're an ATI shop. We've been with ATI for going on 13 years, and I did try a coaching experience early on in my business around the year 2000, which I got a couple of things out of it, but I wasn't really thrilled with it. And then just kind of went back to doing things the way I did them. And so I went into business in 1995, and by 1998 had built my own shop, my father and I learned everything about the business, which wasn't everything, but what I did learn, I learned from my father, my parents actually, because they were a business team as well. So after I went into business, they, not too long after, were retired. They started working in my business as well. So I went from working for them to them working for me. And
Interesting.
So that went good. And we always did well, but nothing exceptional. And in 2005, my mother had a stroke, and my father got cancer, and he ended up passing away in 2006. So from there, we continued to operate the same way. That's when my wife came on board as part of the business. I had tried to let her be a stay-at-home mom for as long as possible, which that's when that ended. But then,
how old were your children then?
Let's see, in 2006, my oldest had just turned 18.
Okay.
And then my next was 16 and 14.
Okay.
So,
all right.
So we could just basically continue doing business the same way. And we reached a point where we had pretty much plateaued. We were churning out the same numbers year after year after year. We weren't growing at all. So I had received previous phone calls from ATI encouraging us to do a boot camp and, come on board with them. And in 2013, they called me again, and I was at a particular low point in the business where I was at the point I kind of just wanted to get out. So, we'd gone through the recession, 2008.
You were frustrated because of the what was going on at the shop, or more specifically, the lack of customers, or fighting and calling for customers, or the employees, or was there any one thing or series of things that were making you feel like it was time to be done?
Well, we struggled a little bit after the recession,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd gone through a couple of employees, and um, I can't say there was any one thing. We were always busy. We always had plenty of cars, plenty of customers. Um, couldn't really complain about that at all. I guess it was maybe lack of excitement, enthusiasm for the business anymore, longevity in the business. I've been in the business for almost 48 years now. Um, so anyway, ATI contacted us at that point, and it was a day I was in a particularly good mood, I guess. And the woman that spoke with me, I told her that I was interested in doing it if my wife was on board. So I went home and I told my wife about it. And our son had just come back into the business as an advisor instead of a tech.
Okay.
He'd been back with us for about a month. So she said
He
yes.
was a tech prior to he left and came back as an advisor. Okay.
So I went home and told her about it, and she said, "Yeah, let's go. What do we have to lose?" She knew what my disposition was at the time. That I told her on numerous occasions I wanted to just lock the door and walk away. So we went to the boot camp, and it was a huge eye opener. We saw things we thought we knew, or at least I thought I knew how to run a business. She was still somewhat new in the business, swore she'd never work in an auto repair shop.
So the
But
boot camp talked a lot about P&Ls or talked about margins. Like what was the
pretty
topics?
much everything.
Okay.
It was quite eye opening because for the number of years I had been in the business, I never looked at numbers,
Mm,
and that was the primary thing of, what's going on out there. Just something as simple as a labor rate.
hmm
What are you basing your labor rate on?
I don't know. The neighbor has it at
Things.
this price.
Yeah, yeah. So we learned several things that day that we knew we could come back and implement immediately and make huge changes in the business. But
Okay.
the cost when they, were starting to talk about um, the monthly cost of it, I was putting the figures together in my head, and I'm like, oh man, there's no way my wife's going for this. Um,
And yet you did.
so yeah, when it was all over, I was like, all right, well, you ready to go? And she's like, I'm going to sign us up. I'm like, okay.
Nice.
So then they sent um, one of the people that were there at the boot camp, one of the coaches. They sent him by, and he did an analysis of the shop, and we signed up right away, and immediately we
Okay.
saw the results,
Okay.
and it's been up and up since there.
So the boot camp that you went to back in 2013, did I get that right?
Correct.
Was very educational in format.
Yes, very
And so even if you didn't sign up, you did walk away with new knowledge. You might not know how to apply that knowledge, but you walked away with new knowledge.
correct.
Good. And so uh, you said a bunch of different things there, and I've got several different questions I'm going to queue up. You said you were in the business for 48 years. So
Mhm.
tell me a little bit before the time before you bought the shop in 95.
Okay, so we're in a
How'd you get into the industry in general? When did you first step foot into this industry, and how'd you do that?
So I was 16 years old. I had just started driving. I was never really interested in cars. My dad was a mechanic, and he had a couple of different businesses. He worked for dealerships before I was born, and then in the 60s he started working independently in a little place that rented bays, and then from there he and a partner rented a old Phillips 66 gas station. And I used to go there as a kid and hang out. And I loved hanging out there, but I still never really developed an interest in cars per se. Um, so when I turned 16 and I got my driver's license, I got a job at a Winn-Dixie. I hated it. I'd been there about 2 or 3 months, and summer came around, and my dad says, "Hey, you want to come down and work at the shop?" I was like, "Yes, please." Anything but Winn-Dixie. So I started pushing a broom. He had me sweeping the floors and cleaning the benches and all that. And then every so often he'd say, "Hey, go do this, put an alternator on this or this or that," So then little by little, I was learning the trade. And when I graduated high school, my real passion, and still is music. And I started playing the trombone when I was 12 years old. In fact, that's how I met my wife, was in a symphony. So she plays bassoon and piano. So from there, I went to the University of Miami for a year, but I hated school too. So I only went for a year, but it was eye-opening because the University of Miami is one of the top jazz schools in the country, one of two. And when I saw the quality and quantity of musicians that were just unbelievable musicians, but making it in the business is very hard. It's not a lucrative business unless you know the right person or you're in the right place at the right time, one of those things. So I went back to my dad and I said, "Hey, can I, work here till I figure out what I want to do?" And then
and you're still working there. No, well,
Yeah.
not really, but
yeah, pretty much. So I don't know, 3 or 4 years later, I was the lead technician.
Okay.
And it turned out I was really good at it. So
Nice.
I worked there for him for about 15 years until he retired. We moved from Miami to the small town we're in now, a little town called Dunnellon here in Florida. And I got a job at a transmission shop locally for a couple of years. And when I went in there, I told him then that I was interested in starting my own business. So almost 2 years later, my dad funded me, loaned me, I think, $10,000. I bought a few tools, some jacks and things like that, and I rented a couple of bays out of a body shop and got myself started.
And that was in 95.
That was in 95. And then in
Okay.
97, we bought a piece of land, which we're on now, and my father and I physically built the shop that we're in now.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was.
All right. Nice. It looked like a pole barn, right?
It's a Quonset hut.
Kwanzaa hut?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not familiar with the different types of buildings. As
So
far as that
those
goes.
those were originally like a military building. This particular design is like a airplane hangar.
Okay.
So we put a block wall across the front, built an office in it, put 3 bay doors on it, and then we've added on quite a bit since then.
All right. Well, how much have you added on now?
So we have 8 bays total.
Okay.
One is a lube bay, one is a alignment bay, alignment
Mhm.
and tires, and then 6 bays inside the shop.
Nice. Okay. So at one point you said in the around 2000, I guess, your dad started to work for you. Your dad and your mom started to work for you. What were they doing at that point?
Right. So my dad actually, he said when I started my business, he's like, "I'll come down and, check on you once in a while, but I'm not bringing my tools down and I'm not working." Well, that lasted for about 6 months, and he gradually was bringing his tools in and working in the shop. He couldn't stay away from it. So he actually early on, was tinkering, and he liked the little extra cash for play money, But then my mother, after we built the shop here, we needed more help with running the office and that, and she had done that in my father's shop, so yeah, she came down and started doing that. That was
So in a way, she was the first service advisor, or no?
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that. Were you calling it that then?
No,
Right.
I actually didn't know a shop format in the sense that there were service advisors.
Right.
I learned that with the first coaching company that I was with.
Okay. So it wasn't, I mean, it was a coaching organization and it was a coach inside that organization.
Correct.
And we don't need to, you don't need to mention the name of the company or whatnot if you don't want to, but can you tell me what specifically was unimpressive about it or why it wasn't a fit for you?
I think it never felt personal.
Okay.
It was like, gosh, it's kind of hard to describe. The coach that I had, it felt like he was just doing a job. Like he wasn't
His heart
invested
wasn't in
in,
it.
no.
He didn't care whether or not you improved. He was following step 1, step 2, step 3. Go process
Correct.
these steps. I'll come back next week and find out that you didn't. Okay.
And I did learn some things that did help the business. In fact, one of the things they taught was, taking a percentage of your intake and putting it in a separate account where you don't touch it. And that actually got us through 9/11 because when 9/11 happened, the phones shut off. People stopped coming in for weeks. It was crazy. That was actually worse for us than the depression or COVID. Now we were more prepared for those things, but I had enough money in the bank to sustain us for several months, where we were able to pay our employees and keep the business afloat.
Yeah. Yeah. 9/11 is one of those things, one of those times in history where like you're always going to remember where you were when the towers were hit. Where were you? Were you at the shop?
Yes, I was. I was out in the shop working with one of my employees, and the first advisor I actually hired, a previous Napa parts guy, he walked out into the shop and he's like, "You're not going to believe it. An airplane just flew into the towers." And I'm like, "What?" It seemed very surreal, and I'm thinking, some minor thing like a little passenger plane or something like that. And then next thing we knew, the second one hit, and it was almost. I mean, it was just this eerie feeling everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was quite crazy.
Yeah. Huh. It was an interesting, I mean, interesting is the wrong word. It was a shocking day. And it was kind of like, what is going on?
It definitely changed the world.
I was I'm closer to New York City. I'm only about 3 hours away. And I don't know about you, but up here, all the phones stopped working because there were so many people, the lines were so flooded. Like that's actually what got me to look at, hey, what's going on? Like I don't even have a dial tone anymore on my cell phone. And so a dial tone is the wrong word again for that, but I had no connection at all. It was completely just the satellites, the towers were all overwhelmed. The landline lines were all overwhelmed. And so that's when I started trying to figure out what was going on. Fortunately the internet was still working, and that's where we found out what was happening. Yeah. So, all right. Anyway, okay. So that was for me in the business I was in, I didn't have, it didn't have as much slow effect as it did with you based on what you're saying. You said it was several months that people were just not driving.
No, it was a few weeks, probably 2 weeks that it was really impacted, that the phones pretty much stopped ringing. I mean, a phone call here and there, where our phones are just crazy all the time. They always have been. And then people weren't coming in. And then gradually, it slowly picked back up. But in this business, if you're not making your profits or, making your margins and all of that regularly, the ripple effect outward from there is heavy. So one bad week affects 2 weeks out, and so on and so on. So it definitely put a hurt on us then.
And you said what got you through it was that lesson from the first coach. And that's
Correct.
a really valuable piece is carve out. What was the percentage that he was recommending? Was it 1%? Was it greater than that? Was it 10%?
It was 5%.
Okay.
That's what we started at. And
did you continue at 5% until you got to a certain dollar amount, like 6 months worth of savings to operate the business without any kind of additional income? Or that's a pull from a Dave Ramsey thought process. Or do you just continue to grow? And now that you've comfortable with 5, you're going to do 6 and so on and so forth. What was your
yes. So
thought
sometimes
process?
it depended on what the week was that we were having, but I didn't really pay attention to what was in the account. It was just left alone. I wasn't trying to achieve a certain dollar amount or anything like that.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
I mean, it was still very new to me because I started that in 2000, and then September of 2001 was when
Yeah.
was when the towers went down. So,
Right.
I can't say I was really well adept at it yet. And like I said, I wasn't one that looked at my numbers.
You were religiously doing it 5%
Yeah.
every week.
Correct.
Or every day. It was being, it came in 5% off the top, was moved into that account.
Correct.
Okay. And then post 2000, post 9/11, once things started to get back on track, did you start to kind of dial it up, ratchet it up to 6%, 7%? What was your
Actually,
process there?
it never happened again after that.
You stopped doing it.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, we struggled pretty good for probably a solid year, and maybe just because I couldn't take the money out anymore because we were doing I mean, we maxed out a lot of credit cards and stuff, putting it into the business to keep the business going. So, at that point, the habit was gone and just never got it back. Now, I will say we do have much better processes than that in place now that we learned through ATI.
Okay.
And we literally don't have to worry about anything like that ever happening again.
Nice.
So
is it back to, again, a certain percentage off the top?
yes.
Okay.
But it's divided up in several ways before it goes into several accounts, and each account is for something different. Like we have a equipment account. So if we need to purchase a piece of equipment, we have money there.
All right. So you might take as much as 10 or 15% off the top, and 3% goes here, 2% goes there, 5% goes here. And you've got a bunch of different kind of the old school envelope way, right?
Yeah.
Like where, that our parents taught us to, if you're saving money, this goes for the budget. Yeah, this goes to the groceries. This goes to the electric bill and so on.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the concept.
Okay. And, man, how often did you say, we don't really have the money in the equipment fund? Well, but if we borrow it from this fund over here and slide it in, we really need to get that, that alignment rack or whatever the case may be. Has that happened?
Oh,
You
yeah.
cheated a little bit? Yeah.
Oh, no. Well, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Occasionally,
every so often, but, even with purchasing equipment and stuff, though, one of the things ATI teaches as well is if you can use someone else's money, use it.
Of course.
So we still typically on a large purchase, we typically still lease. There's benefits to things like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we know the money is there, and if for any reason we want to pay it off, we pay it off. But
a lot of times it's a lease to own type arrangement.
Correct.
Okay.
Like the alignment equipment we've purchased, we've done that way. But we could easily pay for it if we want to.
Okay.
But this way we keep you keep your assets high. Cash, yes.
Right. Yep. No, I understand that. Okay. All right. So, when did your son first start working for you or with you?
So his story is kind of similar to mine. He was in school. He got on I don't know if you remember in your school, maybe they had a work program where you could work you go to school part day and then you had a job, and they followed up on it. Well, he asked if he could do that and come here, and he was about 16, I believe, same age. So he started coming after school each day. He'd go to school half day and then come here. And I started him the same way. Started him pushing a broom and cleaning things. And after he got out of school, then he came to work for me and worked for a few years. He left for a little bit because I had a similar story with me. It wasn't really what he was looking to do. He didn't know for sure what he wanted to do. So he went and got a job as a what was it? Developing websites, I guess. He did that for about a year. And then that company closed up, and he ended up working at a lumber yard down the road. And that was similar to my experience with Winn-Dixie. He hated it, and he came back, and he came by one day. He's like, "Dad, can I please come back to work for you? I'll do anything. I'll sweep the floors again, whatever you want me to do. Just let me come back to work." And I was like, "Well, we actually need an advisor." So,
And that was before the economic recession of 2008, or was that around the same time?
no, that was 2013. That was just before.
Okay.
Yeah, that was just before because he graduated in 06.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. And so that's what happened with the graphic design company that he was working for. They did not survive the recession.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of typical problems that I've seen in the web design, graphic design space is a lot of times they have just one or two big customers, and that's like the bulk of it. And when those leave, the customer, their company just dries up. Right. So,
Yeah.
it's a somewhat profitable model for those guys, but it's not a very stable model because, like I said, on leaves, they're done. Can you imagine if you had just imagine if you had one customer. Now, they had a company and they had a fleet of 500 vehicles. You could potentially be extremely busy maintaining a lot of those vehicles, right? Or I don't know for how, maybe it's 15, maybe it's 5,000 vehicles. But if it's just one company, one bad decision, you're done, right?
Yep.
So there's some logic to spreading out a little bit and working for multiple customers or companies that have fleets as opposed to just a primary source. I've always looked at it as from the P&L standpoint, or from the revenue standpoint. I would look at the growth percentage of any single customer. Try to keep it lower. Don't make too much of your income just from one company, right? So,
Right.
Do you have any fleet business, or is it all retail?
I have a couple of very small fleets. I don't really care for having fleets because it tends to break up the flow of the day. They can be demanding. I don't have a dedicated technician or a dedicated place that I can work on larger equipment. Most fleets are going to be larger equipment. I just, my business model, I just prefer to stay away from the fleets.
Yep.
It's just personal.
It makes sense. Once you have a process down, and you're right, the HVAC contractor, right, it needs to get his truck back on the road. It needs to happen this morning. And so, yeah, they are a little bit more demanding in that regards. And if you're not set up or structured to be able to handle that, then your process is going to break pretty quick. So,
and being in a small town, we don't really have large companies around us with a lot of vehicles and things like that. But pretty much everybody around here, like if it's an HVAC guy, he's in business for himself, or he might have 2 trucks or 3 trucks, and we'll handle those things because they come in very seldom. They just come in for their maintenance and that kind of stuff. It's not really like a fleet.
Right. Yeah, but when his truck or her truck is off the road, they're not making money. So there's still.
And we do try and make those kind of jobs a priority for them because we know, same as us, we're a small business, we need certain things to be working in order to produce and make money.
Yep. Do you have a lot of people waiting at your shop for their cars to come back, or I noticed you have a setup there with Wi-Fi and coffee, like most people do.
Yeah.
Some shops frown on waiters, and some shops, kind of embrace them. Where are you at in that scale?
So we we tend to have more of a homey feel here. So
Mhm.
we typically do have multiple waiters every day. This morning, the office happens to be packed full. So I keep snacks on hand, uh, coffee bar, even with ice for making iced coffee. I've got comfortable chairs with charging devices on them, a TV going. Most people are looking at their devices these days, so the TV is not that big of a deal. So I just keep it on a streaming um, channel that loops. Like right now, we've got it looping through all the scenic spots in Florida. And some people will sit there and watch it. They enjoy it, but we don't play it loud so that, anybody who wants to be on their device can. And I typically uh, have gone away from putting any type of advertising paraphernalia anywhere in the shop. I don't have posters on the walls, uh, things like that, or pamphlets that people can read for, trying to get them to do services and things like that. I like it to be a comfortable place that they can enjoy being in.
I like that. Where did you come to that conclusion as far as not having educational type material in there? Just because you didn't want it to feel like a sales environment, or
Yeah,
go ahead.
I not being a car guy. Now we do have like some of the things on the walls. Like we have a painting of an old 68 or 69 Mustang, which is
That's
where.
fine. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and we picked that up, and that was actually the theme. The colors and everything is what we pulled out of that to paint the office. And when my wife and I redecorated or remodeled the office, we completely revamped the whole thing. When we got with ATI, they were the ones that we got into doing the coffee bar and providing those kind of things. I'd never thought about that. I had, like a little refrigerator with some sodas in it before, but we really went all out in making it a nice, like you're sitting in a living room more or less. Um, but I just didn't like the clutter, because we're constantly getting, all this stuff from Napa to put the posters on the walls and banners and this and that. And I just don't like the cluttery feel of that. The typical old garage with that kind of stuff
Hmm.
just all over.
Yep, that makes sense. Do you put? I've seen some shops they put the technicians' certifications up on the wall. Is that something that you do as well, or put it in a frame and throw it up there?
I don't. Um, I know some shops do. There's plenty of shops in ATI in our peer groups and things like that. We do celebrate their accomplishments, but my guys have not ever really felt like they needed anything like that displayed. We naturally have to have all of the legal documents and stuff, so we have a small cork board that we have, our license and all that stuff on. But I prefer that my customers get to know our service guys when they come through the office and meet them. A certificate on the wall doesn't really, it's not personal, like,
So, are your technicians meeting with customers?
they do not, it's not a part of our process as far as them, coming in and introducing themselves but when a vehicle is finished, they come in, they can hand off the keys to the customer if they're there. They will sometimes, we'll get them to talk to the customer to explain what was done on the vehicle if they have any questions, things like that. May,
So, I in my mind, that's usually the job of the service advisor or the customer service person, or
Mhm.
whatever the title is going to be of that front desk person.
They do that as well, but we like to think that we have a family environment here, so we like our customers to know everybody. We try and treat
Okay.
everybody like family.
Okay. Nice. Okay. And so, yeah, so you encourage the technicians to also be talking. That makes it harder to hire a technician because they need to
It
also
does.
be not okay.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about your experience with that.
Ooh, that's a good one in the last year and a half. Um, so as I mentioned earlier, we transitioned from I've always been basically like the shop foreman as the owner, shop manager, whatever title you want to give it. Um, so things are going well. Our lead technician, we felt was a good fit as being a team leader. So we transitioned him to a salary position and put him as a team leader to oversee all the work in the shop. And in doing so, we needed somebody to take his place because he's a master tech and it's hard to find master techs. So we started looking for hires. We did come across one guy who has been with us for a year and a half now. He's my age. He's older, but he's a workhorse. He's not a master technician. He's more of a C tech, a CB plus, which you need one of those for pumping the work out, doing the services, and you know hanging the parts. Um, and since then, we've been trying to find that guy that could fill the shoes of our team leader, and we've been through about 6 guys now, I guess, that for one reason or another, either they don't have the qualifications they claim to when they interview. 3 or 4 of them barely lasted a week to 2 weeks, and it's like you know. So the last two,
And they quit, or you had to let them go because they weren't,
no, I
keeping up?
had to let them go. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Um,
I want to compliment you in realizing quickly that they're not going to work out.
yeah.
It's a common theme that I've heard is th- they try to work it out with the person instead of letting them go when they're not the right fit.
Yeah.
When they're not the right fit, let them go.
Um, the last 2 technicians that we brought in, one of them, I flew him down here from another state. He came in and worked for us for a week. He looked like he was very promising. Put him in a hotel, and he was moving into the area. He found the job on Indeed, and um, we did an interview over the phone, and then he came in and we did a working interview for a week. And but he had a lot of health issues, and one of his kids has cancer, and he was missing a lot of work. And he lost interest in the position quickly. He wasn't fond of our processes, basically, and we ran into some struggles with that. So um, we ended up letting him go. And then the last hire, he came in again, very promising. Moved up from South Florida. Great technician. He could do the work, but again, didn't like our processes. Didn't like, neither one of them um, liked doing inspections, which is a huge part of what we do. Everything starts with a full inspection, every vehicle. And even though being informed that in an interview, um, and they said they were good with that, uh, they either wouldn't do them or were not up to par.
Right. Did them half-heartedly because they didn't care
Exactly.
about it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
thought it was mumbo jumbo or whatever it was. And I agree. I think it's an important thing for a shop to do. I think it's if you're, because the customer doesn't know what needs to be done on their car. They don't know what else is lurking underneath the seams and underneath the hood. So having someone actually do a full inspection is appropriate. So I get that. All right. So I was going to ask that about what about the process was the issue. And it was for both of them. It was, they did not like doing the inspections, and doing them well enough to carry the family like feel that you have, the relationship that you have with your customers. Right. So, now were those things, now I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about how you pay your guys. Is it a flat rate scenario? Did you pay them do you pay them hourly, or they paid for the inspections and that's why they were, or no, they didn't, and that's why they kind of blew them off?
So we do pay them for the inspections. They're digital inspections. They typically, once you get solid on them and you're doing them routinely, average time on an inspection, I mean, unless you got a really beat up car, average time is about 12 minutes.
Oh, not long at all.
No. So we pay them a quarter of an hour for the inspection, and then whatever diagnostic time might be involved in that vehicle as well, for anything that the customer actually brought it in for, customer concerns. The main technicians are A, B, and C techs. They're paid on flat rate. Our lube tech is paid salary or hourly. And then our team leader is paid salary and commission based on productivity.
Okay. And so they weren't seeing the opportunity in front of them to
Correct.
push out those inspections correctly.
Mm-hmm. They didn't see the value in being able to get those vehicles back in for more work.
Right. Proactively.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I get it. Okay. And so now it's been a year and a half and you're still on the hunt. That's got to be difficult.
So we did just hire a new tech. He's been with us. This is his second week.
Oh, very early.
So yes, but
how are the inspections so far?
Well, we've been playing catch up mostly because we were without a technician for several weeks. Our team leader had to step back into somewhat of a technician role in order to try and keep things going. So we've more or less been throwing work at him, but he is doing the inspections. They definitely need some tweaking, but he's doing them. He's not complaining about them. He's liking them. But the atmosphere in the shop is entirely different than with the previous two. It's
okay, that's
much more pleasant. Yes,
that's so important.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's a personality conflict, and other times it's just a cloud hanging over a person or whatnot. Just brings down the whole atmosphere. That's critical. I would argue that might be more important than the issue with the processes.
It absolutely is. You can have a master technician that can do anything, and if he's bringing down the whole shop, that can ruin everything.
Yeah,
we call it a cancer in the shop.
Yes,
because it affects everybody in the shop.
It does, and just like with cancer, you got to remove the cancerous cells. You got to pull that out, and that's just that's a big thing. Has ATI helped you with that?
Oh yeah. The coaching.
How so?
A lot of times you're blind to what's right in front of you, and having a coach, they can point the things out that you don't see, even though they're not here. When you talk to them, the information that they gather from you, they can give you advice on what to do. I had a technician for years and years and years that I kept on, even though his production was quite low. He was a downer, but I always view technicians as this is their livelihood. He was not a bad person or anything like that, but it wasn't good for the shop environment. And for years, my coach was telling me, you've got to let him go. And I just couldn't do it. And then through COVID, it kind of happened naturally. And the the atmosphere in the shop changed tremendously. It, everything improved. So that was an eye opener for me. Even though my coach was telling me, you got to do what your coach tells you, is the point to that.
Don't wait for a global virus to make sure that you do what your coach tells you to do. Just do it ahead of time.
I'll admit I'm not the best at, and my coach will admit it too. I'm not the best at implementing what he tells me right away.
There are some shops that I come across who they tell me that their community are still, by and large, wearing masks from the COVID masks that we wore 5 years ago, right? But my perception of Florida is that it didn't seem to Florida didn't seem to lose as much of a step. Like 2 weeks to slow the spread, then they were back open, just like everybody, like the federal government had promised. What did you see with COVID, as far as the customers, as far as employees? Everyone's shop story is a little bit different, and it kind of, I kind of got the sense that you can actually do some mapping based on where they're at in the country. But what about? Tell me about your experience with it.
Well, I feel we were very fortunate through COVID because we were considered a necessary business. So as far as we weren't shut down at all. We were able to continue working straight through the whole thing. We did have to change our operation. There was a lot of confusion with it, what to do, trying to get things like hand sanitizer was nowhere. Masks were nowhere and got very expensive. So we couldn't have customers in the office. So we closed the office up, locked it. Because we worked together every day, we weren't required to wear masks, although some of us did in the shop environment. And we ended up setting up some pop-up canopies outside of our office. We put two little 10-foot canopies right outside our window, and we were able to slide open our window and perform business through the window. They were able to give us their keys. We could communicate with them, but we were able to do it at a distance because one of our desk actually comes right up underneath that window.
All right, that works. What? How long did you continue through that process?
I would say a year and a half.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. How long did we operate that way? Year and a half. Mm-hmm. We still have the glass up in front of when we did open up, I put pieces of plexiglass in on the counters where people would come up and talk, and we still have that up. One of my service advisors is a little bit of, not bad, but a little bit of a germaphobe, and he says he still sees people's talking spray on the glass, so he does not want the glass taken down.
That's funny. That's yes. I can relate. There was a TV show on the USA channel called Monk, and it was about a detective. You recall it, okay? And so whenever he was at whenever he's out in public, he would put on a glove before he touched anything that was like a doorknob or anything like that. And so when COVID started and I was at the grocery store, I was like, I could put on gloves and not worry about what people are touching. I couldn't do that socially before, but now I can do it. And so it was just kind of just something that made me laugh. But because I don't consider myself to be a germaphobe, but I consider myself to be germ sensitive. Mm-hmm. I'm a germ aware.
Yeah, I'm definitely more aware now because, if you ever watched Seinfeld, there was an episode where they had close talkers. Okay, and customers can be close talkers.
Yeah, they want
to get right up on you, and since COVID, I am way more aware of that. And, want to back up and keep my distance.
I wonder what they would do if I've not tried this. Now I'm tempted to try this. The next time I have someone who is a close talker, just they're so close, reach out and just give them a hug. and see if they immediately back up after I wonder how that would go
Yeah,
down.
fun experiment.
It might be. And if to do it correctly, if you want to get some serious data, you got to do it at least 10 or 15 times to get some numbers in there. But anyway, I'll let you know how that goes if I start doing it. All right. So yes, close talkers are a thing, and it's definitely something that we're a little bit more aware of than we used to be. Okay. So the business didn't slow down too much from COVID, or did it pick up? Or I've had some shops tell me that the business actually picked up. People were home and they actually had time to bring their car in for service, or it was being added to the honey-do list for all the cars in the house. And then I've had other shops tell me that it was crickets.
Yeah.
Nobody was driving. What was your shop like?
So we experienced a lull in the beginning. The first couple of months, our numbers were definitely down.
Yeah. Months. Okay.
Yeah. But not drastically. Nothing that we couldn't survive off of. We did qualify for the government aid program that they had. We took advantage of that only because we didn't know what the future was going to hold. If, things would drop off more, if COVID was going to get worse. So we were kind of protecting ourselves. And we actually didn't have the saving money properly in place fully at that point. We implemented that not long after COVID started, with taking our profits and distributing them into different funds.
Yeah, a little bit of a wake up call, and now you're doing it again, and as a result, I bet you feel a lot more
Secure.
stable.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and there's the lesson plan from there. So, what do you see going forward as far as your relationship with ATI, as far as the shop? What's next?
So, if as long as things don't change with ATI, we're pretty much lifers. My son feels the same way. So in the near future, I'm just about at retirement age. I just turned 64. I've actually started collecting Social Security a year ago. So my wife and I are trying to put together an exit plan. We've been working on it for a couple of years, and our latest dream, I guess you could call it, or possibility, ATI Super Conference was in Hawaii last year, and so we took some extra time and took our whole family out to Hawaii for that and spent 16 days there. And that was really about the only thing I've ever had on my bucket list, was to see Hawaii. And I told my wife I may not come back. And she said, "Oh, don't be silly." And then when we got there, she's like, "I don't want to leave." So when we returned, she came across a show on Discovery Channel or something that is Caribbean life. And she said, "I found a place that's kind of similar to Hawaii. We could move there when we retire." So that's what we've been looking at. My son is our manager now. He's in the position of taking the business. We'll be more or less selling it to him when it comes time for us to retire. So we've been working with him. He's been taking on more of an ownership role the last year or so. And that's where we're headed. We have 3 to 5 year plan, hopefully. We're actually spending a couple of weeks this year. We've already got vacations. One, we're leaving on tomorrow going to Turks and Caicos for a week to see what Caribbean life is all about.
Nice.
So that's our immediate plan. I've been
Nice.
stepping back from the business, or trying to, at least.
A little by little.
Yeah.
Trying is the operative word. By the time when this episode gets published, you'll be back from Turks, and you'll be able to tell us, maybe we'll connect and we'll tell us how it was.
Okay.
But so that's that. It's a 3 to 5 year plan, but you're going to be doing it. You're already starting it in some ways.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of, I hear people say, oh, I've got a 3 to 5 year plan for exit. And, when I hear about their plan, it seems like there's so many variables for it to go wrong and then to be locked in another 10. Do you have written documentation of what you're doing and why you're doing? Have you written down the steps on that plan?
We are working on that. We took the exit. What's the the exit planning class with ATI several years back, and we weren't quite at the point of retirement yet, but we figured we needed to, see what was involved with that and start putting some pieces of the puzzle together for that. So we're going to take the class again now that we're in that position. So you already took it on. Yeah, my wife already took one. I still need to take it myself. And then that way we can start working on all of the documentation and putting all of that into place.
Okay. All right. Well, we had an episode 32, where we were talking about building a legacy and succession planning. That was published in August of 2025. And so, there's another, if people who are listening in thinking about this and kind of relating the experience, you can get some of the information there. And I believe some of the panel members were also are also part of ATI. So you can kind of hear some of their experiences of what worked and what didn't work on that episode. So you're taking the classes. You're going to be, you started to write down certain pieces of, next steps, with dates, hopefully, and benchmarks. Well, what's the next milestone in that 3 to 5 year plan?
You mean for the business itself?
For you to exit the business. So whether it's you in your role or in the business, or whether it's the business itself, you tell me.
Right.
What's the next milestone that you're paying attention to?
So the next would be for me to be out of the business more frequently, like spending less time.
The amount of times that you're not in the office.
Exactly.
Okay. And how you're in the office? What, like 4 days a week right now? 5 days a week right now?
5 right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Mostly because of I had actually started backing out and spending less time here, but with the technician woes that we've had trying to get somebody in here, it keeps sucking me back into the shop to help keeping things running, because our team leader has to keep going back into a technician role temporarily. And so.
Yeah. So what do you think? You're going to start taking Fridays off?
I'll probably start with that, or maybe a day the middle of the week, or a Monday. I'm not really sure yet.
Are you a golfer?
I used to be, but I'm really bad at it now. I don't enjoy it. So I actually,
there's the key.
I actually mostly enjoy working in my yard. We've built a really nice property. We've got a couple of ponds and an outdoor kitchen, and put a pool in it a few years ago. And
beautiful.
I just love mowing the yard and keeping the property looking nice. And I don't have enough time to do that. And it aggravates me when it doesn't look good.
Okay. All right. So there it is. There's the goal. There's the carrot, if you will, to work towards. Okay. All right. Well, has the coach helped you with trying to figure out how to reach that next milestone? Like what baby steps you need to do to make sure, like maybe it's a matter of staff delegating the hiring to your son.
Yeah. And we've brought him into that process, with our interviewing process. What we started doing was, I mean, in the past, I would interview somebody, and if I felt they were good, I'd hire them. So what we do now, and I don't know that it's necessarily worked any better, because I've had some, like I said, people who have interviewed fantastic. I would interview them first, and this is for the technician process. Then if I felt that they were a good candidate, then I would pass them on to my wife for a second interview. They'd come back for a second interview, and she would ask, of course, entirely different questions and answer things more on the benefits and money side and all of that. And then if she felt they were a good fit, then we would have our team leader meet with them and then spend a couple of hours in the shop to meet everybody and see how the shop runs and all of that. So up to this point, we haven't, even with that process, we haven't had the greatest success. But it has afforded the opportunity. So now what we're doing is having my son as well come in and meet with the candidates along with our team leader, so that he gets a feel for interviewing and bringing people on board.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of curious to what your feedback is from the team. So the third interview as it stands right now includes the team. How do you collect feedback from them on, hey, what do you guys think? Open-ended? Or is it like, what do you think about this? What do you think? Do you actually kind of direct their responses a little bit by giving specific questions to them? I only ask because we actually had another episode on this Garage Grid podcast, was episode 17. And what you just said kind of reminded me of one of the guys on that panel, where he said, I interviewed them first and then the team interviews them, because if they're going to bring down the team, I don't want them. And so he actually has a whole process of getting information from the team as far as how they work. So I'm kind of curious as far as, how do you collect that information?
Yeah. So after he goes into the shop, then I go to each one and, ask if they had an out, because the shop is still running, guys are still working. So the candidate will typically just go to each one of them and introduce himself and, chat for a while they're standing there, and they'll ask different questions, and the guys will give us feedback, on how they felt his knowledge was, his personality. The guys, they typically will be a little more open and natural with somebody that is more their peer, rather than sitting in an interview with an owner. They're, it's like dating. They're of course going to be on their best behavior, or they're going to, want to tell you the things that you want to hear.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Well, so I'm an analytics, I'm a numbers kind of guy, an analytics kind of guy. And so I'm just thinking about the people that didn't work out, right? That didn't do the inspection, didn't like the inspection process. And now I kind of want to analyze the feedback that you got from the team for those individuals, and whether or not asking different questions of your team members could potentially help avoid repeating those hires.
Well, the interesting thing is particularly with the last two hires, they were, nice guys. They weren't,
they were very knowledgeable as well.
Yeah, they weren't bad guys in the shop. And in fact, some of the guys are still friends with them. They still, like one of them, he had to go on vacation over the holidays, and he wasn't working here anymore. And one of the guys babysat his dog while he was gone. So,
awesome.
Their take on them would be just on their, I guess, on their not wanting to, the other techs have been with us for a while, so they're used to our process, what we do and why we do it. So their only feedback would be, well, he just didn't want to do this job. He just, this just wasn't for him. Basically, wasn't for him. Because most, as from what I can see, at least in our area, most shops still operate the same. When the customer comes in, they tell them what they need. They go out, they fix their problem. They might find something along the way, but they're not doing the inspections. They're basically fix the problem, get the car out. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of technicians like. They don't want to do anything else. They want to go in, fix the problem, and move on to the next one.
Well, so I'm thinking about that, and I'm wondering how that plays into your marketing approach, or whether or not there is any kind of pushback from the public when they are thinking about using you instead of somebody else. I mean, it's an opportunity. That's the reality. But, initially when a customer hears that, if they don't understand who you are, they might be thinking that you're just trying to up their spend. And so what do you do? How do you address that? What are you doing?
So we tell the customers up front that we do a courtesy inspection on every vehicle, so that you can make sure that their vehicle is safe. We don't like to call it selling at all. We're not in the business to sell people things. We're in the business to keep their cars running well and make them safe. So that's what the emphasis is on everything we do. And we get excellent feedback. We have almost 1,000 Google reviews with 4.9 stars. And many of them are commenting on how they love the inspection process. Seeing the pictures, and we also, we tell them what is immediate. If there's anything that's dangerous, we alert them immediately. Anything else, we say, these are some things that your car could use. You can take care of them now. You can take care of them in the future. This is the important stuff you should do first. If your transmission fluid is black, you really should take care of that as soon as you can. We don't push at all. So we've had nothing but good feedback from it. In fact, we've got our customers trained now that if they don't get their inspection sent to them, they'll text us, "Hey, I didn't get my inspection. How come you didn't send my inspection?" So they expect it. I feel that it raises the bar. Your customers are expecting more. They want elite service that way. And they like seeing that, they're seeing their own car. They're not seeing a picture of somebody else's car as an example, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
So we get no pushback, really. I can't say no.
Well, I would think that the pushback would come I would think that a pushback would come with a first-time customer.
Yeah.
That's like, they're used to, you said all the other repair shops are just doing it. You tell us what's broken, we fix it. And so they're leaving that environment and coming to you. And on that first phone call, that first customer experience, that new customer experience for them, that's where I would expect that maybe there'd be pushback. And that's why I was asking how you were addressing when that happened. Well, we don't do it. We don't do it the way other shops do it, just to give you a heads up, right? Like, what are you saying?
So sometimes one of our advisors, if there's any questioning, sometimes the customer will say, "Well, what are you going to be doing?" He says, "Well," he'll explain, "Well, we do a complete inspection on your vehicle. We'll let you know any points that might need attention, this or that." But typically, they're not learning of it until they've already got the vehicle here, and we'll perform the inspection. And when we send it to them is when we get the feedback. They'll open the phone. "Oh, I just got a text from you, and yeah, we just sent you your inspection." "What?" And then they open it up and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." They're looking at it, and then it leaves it in their hands. They, if they don't care for it, they don't say anything.
And you're not trying to push
No.
like if you have the red, yellow, and green dots with it, right? So you're not trying to actually push them on the yellow. Just trying to let them know that's coming. That's looming. I feel like some shops, they actually kind of classify some of the yellow into the red area to try to sell more things.
Yes,
and I didn't hear that. I didn't get that vibe from you.
No.
And I think that actually helps with your process, because you don't necessarily have to be as upfront about it, because it's such a soft thing after the fact.
Yeah, I made it very clear that I don't want to see something in red unless it's actually needs immediate attention. Brake pads at 3 millimeters is in yellow in this area, and you have it's demographic too, because if you're in a city where you're in stop and go traffic all the time, yeah, your brakes are wearing out quicker. Here, people go 60, 80, 100,000 miles before they need their first brake job. So, 30% on your brake pads is still quite a bit of pad in this area. So it would be marked in yellow. And then we also recommend, there's canned responses on there. We'll recommend recheck at next service, which we're going to do anyway. But then the customer knows that they're okay for now, but we're going to look at them again the next time they come in.
Sure.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, you said about the demographics as far as the road setup, cities stop and go, but I'm also thinking Florida's pretty flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not going down, not going down hills that are
mountain roads.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, good. All right. So, the 3 to 5 year plan is in effect. That's what's next. And you're taking it in steps. And the next step is to do more yard work.
Sort of. That's one of my things. I have a lot of interests. I have a lot of interests. So,
okay. Do you still play the trombone?
I do. We actually have a band, a family band. And we play local festivals and restaurants around the area, and it's a lot of fun. I'm glad it turned out that way, because I think if I had stayed in the music business, like anything, it would become a job. This way,
yeah,
it's more of a hobby, and
fun became your fun.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Nice. That's pretty nice. Now, your customers know about that?
Oh yeah. They come in regularly and say, "When are you guys playing again? You guys got any gigs lined up?" And so,
okay, all right. Well, with that said, I haven't checked to see, but with that said, I encourage you to post one of the next gigs after they happen on your shop Facebook page.
Oh, okay. There are actually some videos on there. If you go to there's the shop, I think my personal and the band, they're old videos, so they're from 5 years plus, I think. But,
okay, we'll get some newer ones.
I need to post some newer ones, but
yeah, I scrolled back on your Facebook page before talking. I scrolled back a couple months, and nothing jumped out at me like that. So that's why I was thinking that. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially if the customers already know, they're going to really appreciate that, and that's just going to drive up the engagement on the Facebook page.
So when we first started, you were starting to ask, I guess, a little bit about the dynamic of working with family. So I wanted to say that for me personally, and I think we are a little different than a lot of family business owners are, because we have peer groups and stuff, and many of them have their kids working for them and things, and they struggle with that. But I personally am. I feel blessed having my family working with me, because we get along great. My wife and I work side by side. We're going almost 40 years married. We have our whole marriage included all of our kids in everything we do. We almost never had a babysitter. So we've always loved each other's company. And you're always going to have little tiffs here and there where you're going to butt heads, but we never argue per se. We never raise our voices, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's great. I love it. I love it. And that's being passed down. That same vibe is being passed down to your son. So that's nice. Okay. Well, yeah. So you're right. There are definitely a lot of shops who it's a love-hate relationship with their families, right? I mean, it's they love that it's there. They love the bond. But they also see that there are some difficult times. And so, but I like the way you say it. It's not that you don't have the occasional discussion or tiff or frustration or frustrated moment. It's that you keep it in check by knowing what's important, and you know that their intentions are also family oriented, and that helps, right? As opposed to selfish oriented. So that makes a big difference. It really does. Okay. All right. So, all right. Well, good. Well, I hope you enjoy your vacation tomorrow. I'm going to let you go getting all the massive things that need to get done the day before you leave. And, but thank you so much for joining the podcast. And just to close out here, if you're listening to this episode and you're wondering, we talked briefly about the marketing and what you're supposed to do on social media. That's actually covered in the marketing playbook that we recently published for 2026. And you can check that out by going to addi.me/2026. Again, that's addi.me/2026, and you can go get your marketing playbook. It's got the steps in there that we take with all of our customers to help a healthy shop have a healthy digital marketing footprint and healthy digital marketing assets. And so again, addi.me/2026. And with that, I'm going to say, Kelly, thank you again. I look forward to staying in touch and maybe even having you on a panel in future months. So, all right. So thank you.